Another fiqh issue we take from this hadith is the permissibility or the impermissibility to have different intentions between the imam and the ma'mum. The imam and the one behind the imam. Is it permissible to have what? Different what? Intentions. Everybody understand this? This hadith is a proof for those who say what?
That it's permissible to lead the salah and have a different intention.
Let's read what Nawawi says. And this is a very practical issue when you're in the airport. Somebody's making a salat, you come in late to the masjid, you're traveling. Naam. Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he says regarding this issue in Sahih Muslim, Bismillah. في هذا الحديث جواز الصلاة المفترض خلف المتنفل. He says in this hadith is a proof, and it's the permissibility for one who has the niyyah, the intention of fard, to pray behind someone who has the intention for nafil. The people of Mu'adh, they had the intention of what? Fard, without a question. They were making what? Isha. And Mu'adh was making what? Nafil. 4 extra rak'ah. Are you clear on this or not? No, he says لأن معاذ كان يصلي الفريضة مع رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. He says here, that's because Mu'adh made the faridah with the Messenger of Allah. فيسقط فرضه ثم يصلي مرة ثانية بقومه هي له تطوع ولهم فريضة. So when he made Isha with the Prophet ﷺ, he was now exempt from what? The fard. Fard was done. And he would lead the people in the what? Isha. And it was for them fard. For him it was nafil. Making Isha twice. But it actually wasn't the actual what? Isha. He says, وَقَدْ جَاءَ هَكَذَا مُصَرَّحًا بِهِ فِي غَيْرِ مُسْلِمٍ وَهَذَا جَائِزٌ عِنْدَ الشَّافِعِي رحمه الله تعالى وآخرين. And it is mentioned specifically like this in other versions outside of Sahih Muslim, in which the narrators specifically say that Mu'adh made what? The fard with Rasul and the what? Nafil with his people. Because someone can argue this point. They can say that Mu'adh made what? No, that's not even going to come up. There's no 2 faridas in the day or the night. There's no difference of opinion on that. They're going to make the argument with what? No. No, not 2 nafil. You got to make a fard in the day, akhi. That Mu'adh made what with the messenger? Nafil.
Oh, no. Okay.
And he made with his people? Fard. The argument can be what? Made. That Mu'adh prayed nafil with the Prophet for the extra blessings, and then made what? Fard with his people. Because he was the actual Imam. That argument can be what? Made. Whether it's the strongest argument or not. The asl, they're going to say, why would Mu'adh do without making the obligatory salat with no brainer, as you would say. But the point is that the argument can be what? Can be made. So Nawawi said outside of Sahih Muslim, there's a version of this hadith that clearly what? States that it was fard with the Rasul and what? And it says the madhab of Imam al-Shafi'i rahimahullah, that is permissible, and other scholars as well. ولم يجوز ربيعة ومالك وأبو حنيفة رضي الله عنهم والكوفيون. He says as far as Rabi'ah, there was a man who was alive during the time of Imam Malik named Rabi'at al-Ra'i. He's a great alim, a great faqih as well. Also Imam Malik and also Abu Hanifa رضي الله عنهم and the rest of the Kufi scholars, they're all against Shafi'i and others. He says then they say no, that this cannot be done. This cannot be what? This cannot be done. So here Shafi'i, hypothetically speaking, we have 2 parties, hypothetically. Shafi'i and what? The rest. No, he is not going to what? He's not going to what? Twist the blade on who? Shafi'i. You guys with me or not? He's not going to what? He's not going to go in. Shafi'i's the only one, Shadda. But perhaps one may say if it was Abu Hanifa on the other side, then it would what? Qawlun da'if, he's the only one, the sunnah, so on and so forth. As we explained what? Before, the effects of the madhab upon someone. Even if you're not a staunch bigot, it has you some type of hesitation and delay in movement and going forward. Shafi'i. I can say nothing about Shafi'i. Everybody understands? Sometimes we read Malik's view, Qawlun Da'if. Abu Hanifa's Qawlun Da'if. The Sunnah is against them. The Sunnah is clear. Remember we took this? Hujjatu man qal. The proof for those who say. Everybody understand this or not? We explained this before. To be mindful of this. And it also goes to show for the other people, the other madhab people. Or the other people who say they follow Al-Hadith, Ahl-Sunnah. They'll blast Imam Abu Hanifa. It's the Hanafi view. The Hanafi opinion. But an issue in which is only Shafi'i, they won't what? They won't blast them. Or only Malik took this view, they won't what? They won't blast them. Or all of the ulama say this, and Imam Muhammad says something, and they won't what? They won't dare say Imam Muhammad shadda an al-ulama, khalafa al-ijma'. That's what? Hypocritical. وَمَا أَكْثَرَ هَذَا. How abundant is this among people today? Everybody understand this? What is your proof? What is your logic? It's a bad view because of the numbers, 99% of them here, or the dalil and the science. This is the hadith, this is the principle, this is the qaida, this is the usul, this is how we extract it. What you gotta pick what you want, who you want to be with. Everybody understand this? Are you with democracy or the truth? Everybody understand this? If you choose to be with democracy in fiqh, that's okay. But you need to do what? Be consistent. And don't sandblast Abu Hanifa for something and then turn a blind eye against another alim. Ibn Taymiyyah is the only one who said this. Ibn Taymiyyah, Ibn Qayyim. That's okay. That's acceptable though. Abu Hanifa is what? The Hanafis. Hanafis always bid'ah. Hanafis always on something crazy. Hanafis always against all of the other ulama. Everybody got this or not? Based off what we read, listen to how carefully he worded it as well. He says here, listen carefully. He says, وَهَذَا جَائِزٌ إِنْ الشَّافِعِي وَآخَرِينَ. He says this is permissible according to Shafi'i and what? Others. Who are the others? Al-Muhim is what? It's just not what? Shafi'i. Don't single out what? Shafi'i. Everybody got this or not? We exposed this as well. طيب. He says, they say, ومنهم من تعو, he says here, وتعول حديث معاذ رضي الله عنه على أنه كان يصلي مع النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم تنفلا. Some of them, the proof that they use against this hadith is that the Mu'adh made nafil with the Rasul. He says, وَمِنْهُ مَنْ تَأَوَّلُوا عَلَى أَنَّهُ لَمْ يَعْلَمْ بِهِ النَّبِيُّ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وسلم. And others, they say that the Prophet didn't what? No. Didn't know about it. That whether Mu'adh made the fard with him or not. Either or, he didn't what? Know about it. So they say that yes, Mu'adh made the fard with who? The Prophet. And he made nafil with his what? People. And the people had the intention of what? Fard. But they say Muhammad didn't what? Acknowledge it. Muhammad didn't what? Acknowledge it. It's a proof only when Muhammad what? Acknowledges it. Acknowledges it. And it isn't a proof if Muhammad didn't what? Acknowledge it. Hypothetically. He says, وَمِنْهُ مَنْ قَالَ حَدِيثُ مُعَاذ كَانَ فِي أَوَّلِ الْأَمْرِ ثُمَّ نُسِخَ. He says, and another interpretation is what? Is that Mu'adh radiallahu anhu, he did this in the beginning of the time. Then later on the ruling was what? Changed. It was abrogated. It was cancelled. Everybody understand this? He says, وَكُلُّ هَذِهِ التَّأْوِيلَاتِ دَعَاوِي لَا أَصْلَ لَهَا. Listen to this. فَلَا يُتْرَكُ ظَاهِرُ الْحَدِيثِ بِهَا. Allahu Akbar. I know he says all of these different interpretations are da'awi, baseless claims. La asla laha, have no proof. And he says, and the zahir al-hadith is not to be abandoned for claims. Allahu Akbar. Just take that one sentence and what? Hang that up. Have two chains holding that sentence up in your library. These claims have no base, and the zahir al-hadith is not to be what? Abandoned therefore. How many issues in which there are other interpretations and this and that, and the zahir al-hadith is abandoned in Shafi'i method? How many times? Everybody understand this? So that is the qaida. The zahir al-hadith, the principles, how you extract the hadith, that is the what? That's how you operate and maneuver. And this scholar and this ta'wil, but it really means this and everything. If it doesn't have a basis, meaning if it does have a basis, it's a different story. Other hadiths, other proofs. But if it's just ra'i, opinion, that's going against the hardcore zahir al-hadith, without no need, no necessity, then we don't what? This is a qaida of the fiqh of hadith right here. Look how Allah put this golden truth upon the tongue of Nabi. Everybody clear this or not? How many madhabs can live by this? Can abide by this point of constitution all of the time? And we've only read the issues of salat and tahara. Huh? How is this qaida applied to what? Allah's names and attributes. Abu Hassan Ash'ari said this, Imam Fulan said that, Qadi Iyad says this, it really doesn't mean that. And the Zahir Hadith, the Prophet ﷺ is affirming something to Allah. What's the basis of saying that it's not literal, it's figurative, and it can't be this? What's the basis? Laysa kamithlihi shay. Nothing is like Allah. Allah doesn't have a body. Allah is in an immortal place. All of those statements are what? Da'awi. They're claims, baseless claims. And the Zahir Hadith is not abandoned for what? Baseless claims. Everybody understand this or not? Everybody understand the importance of this one statement? This is a gem that is applicable to all aspects of Islam, let alone comparative fiqh. Let alone what? Comparative fiqh. Everybody got this or not? Write this down. This is a qaida. As the Arabs, they say, yuktabu mal aynain. They say this fact is so valuable, you could write it down with the tears from your eyes. If you had to make ink, you had no water, but you had indigo and what? Mix it and write it down. It's that what? That precious. Everybody got it or not? Play it.